Hi guys, so I'm here to talk about deaf culture and why certain things are important to the community. And I'm going to start off by saying the first time that I was ever introduced to the deaf community and deaf culture was in my first year of CCP. I was in my second semester and we read a book entitled Far From the Tree, and the first chapter that we were introduced to was a chapter on deaf culture. And it was a very fascinating topic for me, and it was something that I was really interested in, especially because we had another deaf student in the classroom who also gave us a lot of information on his education and life as a deaf man. The second time was when I decided to take an ASL class in my third semester of college. Now, not only was the textbook based on teaching us how to sign, but it also talked a lot about the culture and parts of the community that was changed, especially talked a lot about Gallaudet University. But right now we're going to talk about the culture. So all the knowledge I learned from both the ASL class and the book Far From the Tree, I'm going to share today with you. So did you know that 10% of deaf children are born to deaf parents? 70% of deaf children are born to hearing parents who are experiencing a deaf community, and 20% of deaf children are born to parents who know about deaf culture, know ASL, or have deaf family members. So we're going to talk about why deaf culture is so important, starting with the education. So in 1880, a conference was held in Milan, Italy, and it was led by Alexander Graham. Now, the conference was held to influence a change in deaf education, which was basically following the curriculum of a hearing student while also ASL, to teaching deaf students to speak and lip read. Now, the ironic thing about Alexander Graham was that he was an oralist, but he was also the husband and son of deaf women. His ideals was that deaf people should not procreate or wed, and he even convinced a few hearing parents to sterilize their children, as well as sterilizing adults so that they wouldn't have children. So in many parts of Europe, after this oralist movement took place, a lot of deaf teachers were dismissed because they could no longer keep up with the curriculum of teaching their students how to speak and lip read. The oralist approach caused such a huge issue for the culture because it's happened for a few centuries after 1880, and it just wasn't educating students. Students spent weeks learning a sentence rather than learning the actual curriculum, learning how to speak it. So let's discuss why the D in deaf is capitalized is so important. So the D, deaf with a capital D, is exclusive for this culture. It's seen as a pride aspect, and the lowercase d is seen more as a medical diagnosis rather than something to be prideful about. It's almost shameful to have a lowercase d when writing deaf. So such a small adjustment, such a small inkling makes such a huge difference in this community. In case you ever want to go out and visit these communities and socialize with deaf people, there's 3 things that you should really know about the community, and this ties apart with their culture. There's a lot of things that we don't think about as hearing people that we need to know when we interact with them. So the first thing is just basically they use their eyes to do a lot of things. They're very visual people, of course. So the way that their eyes use is to understand the grammar of a sentence, of course, the emotions, and to gain information. So to grab someone's attention, you wave or you tap on parts of their bodies to create a vibration. And finally, something that is considered extremely rude in the Hare community is actually something that they require you to do. If you are trying to get past two people who are signing, it is perfectly and socially acceptable to walk in between those two people while they're in the middle of a conversation. As I said, I hope that eventually I can convince you guys to take an ASL class and get involved with the community and speak to deaf people. I've done it myself. It's wonderful. It's wonderful to just open up myself to a completely different culture was one of the best things I could ever do.